So in this video, I just want to talk about my experience using the Epix Pro Gen 2 51mm that I have used now for a week, and it has been on my wrist, of course, for the entire week. And long story short, I really like this watch. I like it so much that I actually bought a second one for my right wrist, so I can have one on each wrist. No, not really, but I actually found a Epix Pro, of course, exact same model, cheaper than the first one I actually got. The first one I got 6% off its retail price. The second one here I actually got 15% off its retail price, and that is around $200 or 200 euros less than the MSRP, and around $110 or euros less than the first one I got. So the first one is going back, and I am keeping the second one here. And I thought, first off, let's just do a quick unboxing here, because I want to test the buttons and see if the second one here is as good as the first one. Surprise, surprise, exactly the same inside the box here. Cable, manual, and so on. Let's just test the buttons and see if I was just lucky with the first one. And yeah, I am happy to say that the buttons on the second one here is equally as good as the first one. That's definitely nice, because I had to go through 3 of the original Gen 2 to actually get one with decent buttons. So I was just curious to kind of try out and see if I was lucky with the first one. But other than that, I just want to talk about my experience using the Epix Gen 2 Sapphire 51mm Pro watch. And this is actually the first time I take it off my wrist. You can kind of see the bigger sensor there made a little dent into my wrist. I don't notice this, and I do keep it pretty tight on my wrist as well. I do tighten it up just a little bit when I go and do my run, and other than that, when I'm not running, I will just loosen it a little bit. So let's just get a little bit closer. And first off, the watch face I chose to go with is this one here, and I tried to match the color of the watch band. The watch strap, I really like this green one with the carbon gray bezel. Looks so much nicer than the black bezel on my Phoenix 7X, in my opinion at least. I tried to match the color of the watch face with the watch band, but I actually had to go a little bit brighter or a little bit lighter in green color tint, because if I selected one of the darker green colors, when it gets into this sleep state, as you can see right there, it was actually much harder to read with the darker green colors, because it does fade a little bit to black, and there's also a little bit of shadows and so on. So yeah, had to go a little bit brighter there. But anyways, 6 days of battery life left after 1 week, and I have tracked around 5 hours of GPS activity, and I do have it paired to my phone 24/7, so I do get notifications on my watch, and of course it is syncing to Garmin Connect in the background. So 6 day battery, and that equals to 53%, so that's actually quite impressive. That exceeds the 11 days of battery life for me personally, but of course I need to do some more testing. Of course, the more I track my activities, the more battery I will actually drain, and of course if I use dual band GPS mode, it will drain the battery even more. So my settings for satellite is just to choose automatic. This is the default setting, so it would automatically choose the best GPS or the best satellite settings for your environment. It seems to work just fine for me. And then I set it to update every second. By default, it is set to smart. So the frequency for the GPS, I always set that to every second, so you get the most accurate GPS. Other than just enabling always on screen, I still have the medium brightness. Probably will bump that up to the maximum brightness in the future. I'll just test it out with medium brightness first, because it is summer here in my country right now, so we get a lot of sun, of course, and it can be a little bit hard to actually see the screen from time to time, especially if you're just wanting to peek at the clock or see the clock and also wear sunglasses. So I might just bump that up to max, but the default one is medium setting, and the default one is always on screen disabled, so I've just enabled that. And that has given me a comfortable 7 week of battery life with 5 hours of GPS activity. So that's 3 runs, 1 walk, and 1 hike. So all of them pretty short in duration. That's all I had time for this week here, but definitely very impressed by the battery life, and it's just so nice to finally have an OLED screen on a watch like this, a more activity focused watch with comfortable battery life. I definitely do not have any battery anxiety with this watch, and it is very nice to know that you can always just go in and disable the always on screen, just like so, and now the screen will turn off and you can have up to a month of battery life. That's just totally insane to me. If you've had an Apple Watch in the past, you know you probably have to throw that on the charger every day, and now you can get up to a month of battery life. So I'm not really sure yet what I'm going for for my everyday life, I will just have the screen always on. Kind of like having that ability to peek at the screen. Although, like said, in some circumstances, it can be a little bit hard to actually see the screen, especially when I have sunglasses on. When I'm driving in my car, the sun is shining in on my wrist or directly on the watch, and I'm trying to peek at the time. I can actually not really see that the screen is on when I wear my sunglasses. Even if I wake the screen up, I feel like it's a little bit too dim in those kind of environments. But during my activities, I just have the default settings here as well. And by default, it is set to 100% brightness, so the maximum brightness, and always on screen enabled. And I've been out and running and tracking my activities in direct sunlight. I've had no issues actually be able to see the screen. Not as visual as the MIP type displays on the Phoenix series. Of course, when there's any sun shining directly to that screen of the Phoenix 7X, the screen will kind of light up, and that's where you see the full glory of the screen. But of course, with an OLED screen like this, you're kind of limited to the brightness of the screen itself, because the light inside the screen actually have to compete with the sunlight. But still visible enough for me, and also just peeking at the watch when I run. For instance, just to track my heart rate, I can peek and see the screen pretty comfortably, even in direct sunlight. So definitely fine enough for that. Although today I had an issue with the watch rebooting on its own. All I did was just go into my calendar and see what it recommended for daily training or daily run. Just pressed on the button and there was nothing on the screen other than a question mark, and the watch was just getting unresponsive. Tried to go back and then I just got a black screen and it was rebooting on its own. So I've not really had that on my Phoenix watches, at least not my Phoenix 7X. I had that on my Garmin Epix Gen2, the first generation, and it's a little bit disconcerting that it would actually reboot on its own. I hope it's just a software issue, because that would be a little bit annoying outside tracking my activities and the watch would just reboot on itself. I hope it's not like a hardware issue. But like I said, I had it on the original Epix Gen2 as well. It rebooted on me like 2 or 3 times during the course of was it like 6 months I had the watch? Maybe I've been wearing it for like 3 months in total, 4 months maybe. But yeah, definitely not nice to see on a brand new watch. Was hoping that they will kind of fix that issue. But other than that, the screen is just fantastic. It can seem a little bit cartoonish at times because of those nice saturated colors and so on. It can be a little much at times, but personally I've come to a point where I actually prefer this kind of screen over the MIP type display. Not to the point that I am actually selling my Phoenix 7X. I'm still holding on to that for the near future at least, because I really like the MIP type displays as well, and it's not really far behind in my opinion, and the always on nature of that screen is something I kind of miss a little bit on this one here. But I'm just so used to OLED screens, you know, from my smartphones, and also I do have a smartwatch. Right now I just have the Samsung Watch 5 Pro because I have a Samsung phone. If I have an iPhone, I usually also have an Apple Watch. And going from a screen like this, looks so nice, to like the MIP type displays was always a little bit underwhelming. But like I said, I really like that screen technology as well, so I'm not ready to totally give up on it. But I think the Epix Gen2 Pro here will definitely be my main watch going forward, and then maybe I will switch between this and my Phoenix 7X. The flashlight have definitely been an improvement from the Phoenix 7X, which was like the first generation of the built-in flashlights. I guess this is the 3rd generation-ish on these types of watches here, and I feel like the beam is a little bit more focused. Not super focused, but it's just a little bit more directional. So I actually have the brightness set to only 2 on this one here. I had it like 3 or 4 on my Phoenix 7X, because like I said, it is a little bit more directional. So if you want to light up something in front of you, or you want to find something in your car and so on, just a little bit more usable, this beam quality. And that was one of the things that I definitely wanted to improve on my 7X. I would not say the flashlight improvement is worth it alone, but it is definitely a feature I really like, and I am happy that they have improved upon that with this generation here. And the heart rate sensor seems to be very good as well. It's of course very early on, and I have not really done any runs with a chest strap to compare it with the heart rate sensor of the Epix Pro, but definitely seems to be a little bit better in my opinion, especially because this watch is a big watch. No matter what I do, it always tends to slide down a little bit on my wrist, and now it has more LEDs. It definitely would help out in that aspect. I'm curious to see what Garmin is planning to do with these like isolated points here around the sensor. Supposedly is for some kind of EKG or ECG, so you can just measure your heart rhythm and see if you have any issues with your heart. Nothing really on the website or anywhere else on that. Definitely not a feature you should count on for future firmware updates, but I definitely hope it is something that we will see, and I'm kind of curious to figure out how it actually works. You like hold your finger on the button here, or do you hold it on the bezel because you need to create contact? But yeah, Garmin is probably the last brand, at least on the high-end watches, where they don't have some kind of ECG or EKG, but it will just be nice if we see that in the future. So the endurance and hill score, still you need to use it for 2 weeks. At least the hill score here, to be able to get some data there. Endurance score is very low at the moment. I'm still just getting back into shape. So my goal right now is just to get out and run at least 3 times a week for like 30 minutes or more. And I do also throw a kettlebell around a few times a week, as well as going out for walks and some hikes from time to time. So yeah, I want to improve my VO2 max. You can see it's pretty low right now. And I had a lot of issues with sleeping at the moment. It's very hot here in my country. I live in Scandinavia, so we're not really used to the summers we have right now. So it's very hot at night. You can see my HRV is out of balance because of the heat. And I did also go out and run kind of late last night. But it can also actually be a little bit demotivating, because now I can actually see it in the number here. Okay, I'm out of balance. Okay, I feel tired. I definitely do so. And I also only had 5 hours of sleep, or 5 hours and 40 minutes of sleep. So didn't sleep long enough. And you can see my body battery didn't really get up to 100% today. So it can be a little bit demotivating to actually look at this information here, in my opinion. I know I'm tired. I know I didn't get enough sleep. I know I didn't recover good enough from my run last night. And also, of course, go down here and see your training readiness. So my score is very low today. I do plan to throw a kettlebell around today, so I definitely want to do that. But looking at all these scores here, I'm not really sure if I really should do so, or if I should just spend the time recovering. All this information is definitely good and or bad. In my old days, or younger days as well, I am in the 40s now, so I'm not that young anymore. But when I was younger, no matter how I felt, I would just work out and run and whatever I have put my mind to. But with all this information here, kind of getting second thoughts. Maybe I should just focus on recovering today. I'm not really sure. Both a blessing and a curse with all this information, in my opinion. Can also be a little bit stressful in abstracts, because my HRV have been unbalanced for like a week now, because I started training and my body is kind of responding to that, and sleep haven't been all that great. So I'm not really sure I would like to know all this information, because that also makes you think that now you have to improve these scores here. And especially, like I said, because I'm a little bit older now, not really in the best shape. I can't really push myself as hard anymore as in my younger days. Another thing I noticed that I didn't really know was a thing on Garmin watches is that you can make these folders. This is a default folder that is already on the watch, but I made exactly the same folder on my Fenix 7X. So I kind of like this actually. Then you can put all of this information here inside a folder, just to free up some space on the widget screen here. And the way, of course, you do this is just to go in and edit and click add, and you can create a folder here. Of course, it's in my native language, but it's very easy, and you can select one of these predefined. So I really like that, and I think actually it's something I will use in the future as well, just to collect some of these widgets inside a folder. And you still get a nice icon based on what you selected when you made that folder. So yeah, definitely nice. And that's always a nice thing when you get a new device or a new watch like this, that you kind of want to use it in a different way, and also get a new watch face. That's also very nice. Can be a little bit tiring to look at the same watch face. I know you can go into the Connect IQ store and download watch faces, but I've had like mixed experience with that. Some of the watch faces work fine. Other watch faces can drain the battery, and other watch faces also can make the watch feel a little bit slow when you're going through the widget and back to the watch face. It can take multiple seconds before the watch face actually will appear. So that's always a little bit annoying in my opinion. So I tend to stick with the watch face that actually comes from Garmin themselves. They just work the best in my opinion. And I really like this one because you have a lot of data, and all of the data points is in the same orientation at the watch. And overall, the watch feels exactly the same as previous generation. So the Fenix Series and the original Epix Gen2. You can also see the benchmark here. You get pretty much exactly the same score as the Epix Gen2. Would have been nice to see a bump in performance, but if that also means less battery life, I definitely think that the performance is a worthy trade-off. But when I get a notification, you do see like a lot of drop frames, or it doesn't feel like it is as fluid. Maybe it seemed like it's 15 frames or 20 frames a second. Maybe it doesn't sound as much, but when you're used to like a smartwatch, where you got very fluid experience, and also smartphones as well, which up to like 120 Hertz now, and are very fluid in their performance. You definitely noticed a little bit laggy performance on the Garmin watch. It's not bad at all. It's not slow, but it is just a little bit sluggish at times. For instance, just going into a run, So you press the button, it takes multiple seconds just to get into the actual menu. Once you actually select an activity, it doesn't really take much time to actually get into it. But there is just these hiccups here and there, and those drop frames here and there, and you kind of just notice it. Oh, I do at least. But I'm also more of a tech-savvy person, so I have multiple other devices that I can like compare to. If you don't have that, I think the fluidity of this watch is definitely fine. So just to conclude, after a week, I really enjoyed this watch, and definitely it's going to stay on my wrist for the future. Else, I think the Pro series is not really all that exciting. I wouldn't upgrade if they only had like a Fenix 7X Pro, for instance. The only reason why I really wanted the Pro series is because now we have the 51mm Epix. And on top of that nice screen, we also get an improved heart rate sensor and an improved flashlight. So it was a no-brainer for me, but I feel like it is a little bit too expensive, really. I didn't really want to go out and pay full retail price for this. That's just too much, in my opinion. But you have to consider that you're not only getting a watch, you also get nice topo maps included. So that's also an added value there. And you also get one of the best sports watch out there. Activity watch, hands down, the best. GPS watch, hands down. Not the best smartwatch. That's still one of the areas I feel like Garmin could do a little bit better. Would be nice to be able to just answer phone calls on your watch. I know it sounds a little bit silly, but that's definitely a nice addition when I have my smartwatch with me. And this one is LTE capable as well, so I don't really need to bring my phone, and all my phones and text will be forwarded to the watch. I kind of miss some of those features. Maybe even some smart assistant. If you can get Google Assistant on here, would be kind of nice. But having said that, I also really like the fact that this is a serious piece of equipment. All this smart assistant stuff and phone calls and so on still is a little bit on the, I wouldn't say gimmick, but it definitely feels like more of a toy than a serious piece of tool. I really like the fact that it doesn't have all of these smarter features, but then again, I kind of miss it when I'm on my Garmin watch, and also the reason why I have a smartwatch next to it, or carry this from time to time on my right wrist, just to get some of those smarter features. Would be nice to just be able to carry one watch. And also would be nice if Garmin could improve on the Bluetooth music listening time. Still 17 hours, not really all that impressive, and it's just such a big hit on the battery life. And would be nice to just see YouTube music on here as well. Not really sure if this is Garmin or if this is YouTube kind of blocking the way, because they have their own smartwatch ecosystem and they kind of want people to use that, of course. So they are kind of on a competitor on that area. So yeah, I am definitely going to keep my watch here. And like I said, I really like this green watch strap with this carbon gray bezel. Looks so nice in my opinion. Of course, you can find a link to this watch strap as well as the watch down in the description below if you are interested. But else, that's pretty much all I have for this one. Until next time, take care.